Lesbian detectives, unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, lesbian detective, lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the lesbian detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. So if you hear our introduction, you hear that my wife's voice is a little sick. She has COVID. Guys, it's been a couple of days for us, so we still here recording. We still doing the dang thing because this case right here is kind of special to me. My wife is not really going to talk as much, but she's going to be here in spirit. She's not going to read. I'm going to read the case like I did last week. That's when she started feeling a little sick. But you guys love my voice, so it's okay. But this case right here has been a big case suggestion. I did this case right here on True Crime 1 Minute on my TikTok a long time ago. And it's been getting, even when I posted, it was getting so much views and likes and comments. And this one girl was like, I want to hear more. Like, I want to hear this story. I'm like, this story is a sad story, but I didn't think people wanted to hear it. That's why I did it for True Crime 1 Minute, because I want to get out there. I wanted their voices to be heard. But when a girl commented and then she inboxed me and then another person commented, I was like, okay, guys, I will do this case. This case is kind of different. This case is solved, but not solved. So it's like in between. The police know who did it, but I'm not going to spoil it. They did something wrong in this case. And this case will never be completely solved. And it's so sad. And also, this case deal with 2 transgender women. So please say their name correctly and their pronoun, and do not victim shame, because we do not victim shame here at all. Now let's get into the episode. Tonight, I want to tell you a story that is heavy. A story that has lingered quietly in the shadows for decades, whispered about in small circles, passed over by the headlines and rarely investigated with the urgency it deserved. For too long, it had been completely erased from the mainstream narrative. But the people at the center of this story weren't shadows. They weren't invisible. They weren't footnotes or disposable. They were women. They were love. They were full of life, full of dreams, full of the kind of laughter and warmth that leaves a mark on everyone around them. They were part of a community that has fought and continue to fight for dignity and safety in a world that often refused to see them, a world that too often refused to protect them. This is their story, not just the story of their lives, but also of the horrific night that took them too soon. A night that exposed cruelty, hate, and the injustice that existed in a community that didn't value them the way it should have. It's a story of friendship, survival, and strength, of 2 women walking together through danger and hardship, and of the shocking violence that ended their lives. But even in that tragedy, their compassion shined through. The way they laugh, the way they dream, the way they carry themselves, the bond they share. Tonight, I want to take you inside that world, to walk with them through the streets they knew, the night they faced together, and the moments that should have been ordinary but instead became forever marked by loss and injustice. This is their story, and it deserves to be heard. This is a case of Tanya Moore and Tina Rodriguez. When we talk about true crime, we often default to timeline, last sighting, and reports. But Tanya and Tina was more than that. They were full of complex, living people who deserve to be remembered as such. Tanya Moore was born in 1955 in Germantown, neighborhood of Pennsylvania. She was 31 when she died. Growing up transgender in the 70s and 80s wasn't just stigmatized, it was dangerous. But Tanya lived her truth anyway. She loved fashion, bright colors, and putting herself together. People felt seen when Tanya was around. Her humor, her laughter, and her warmth. They were infectious. She had more than 20 arrests for survival sex work in Pennsylvania over the 13 years before her death. But those arrests never defined her. Tanya worked along 13th Street in Pennsylvania, an area known as the Scroll. Here, transgender women looking out for each other, sharing information, protecting one another from clients and predators. Tanya survived here, and she did it fiercely. Tina Rodriguez was born in Puerto Rico in 1959 and grew up in Camden, New Jersey. She was 27 at the time of her death. Her mother and half-brother tried to support her, bailing her out of jail multiple times, but Tina often felt disconnected from her family. Tina loved music, especially old school R&B. She had a soft warmth. She cried easily, not from weakness, but because she felt the world deeply. She dreamed of leaving the streets and building a life where she could be safe, seen, and loved for who she was. Tanya and Tina met on those streets. Tanya was bold, fiery. Tina was calm and thoughtful. They watched each other's backs, laughed together, and survived together. Their friendship was a lifeline and a word that too often tried to erase them. On June 30th, 1986, witnesses saw Tanya and Tina get into a light-colored van with two unknown men. From the outside, it looked like a date. Other trans sex workers described the men as white, between 25 and 35. The driver had curly dark hair and a mustache. The passenger was blonde and clean-shaved. Tina's last known words were, "Anybody want to party? The money is good." Other girls rushed to the van, competing to get in because the men seemed to have money. Tanya and Tina slipped into the back seat. They never came back. 3 days later, on July 3rd, 1986, at 12:31 a.m., a passerby spotted flames near a baseball field in Middletown, Pennsylvania. The Fairless Hill Fire Department arrived and made a horrifying discovery: 2 burning bodies. Detectives were quick at the scene, and what they found was immediately disturbing. The fire had been started deliberate. Burning cigarette butts in a matchbook lay among the ashes, and a soda can containing gasoline was found nearby. The likely accelerant used to ignite the flames, it appeared the cigarette may have been smoked first before using it to light the fire. But in 1986, DNA technology wasn't in use for crime scene evidence, so no one thought to preserve the cigarette butt, a tool that might have identified the arsenic. An empty box of cool cigarettes sat at the scene, but no usable fingerprints could be lifted from it. Even more disturbing, it became clear the victims had been interred limb from limb before the fire. Both women's legs had been cut off above the knees, a brutal method used to fit their bodies inside a box for transport. Both victims were badly burned. Investigators brought in John Durante, a fingerprint analyst known for his meticulous work. John was able to lift the prints and send them to the FBI, where officials combed through thousands of records. Through this careful process, the first victim was identified: Tina Rodriguez. a 27-year-old transgender woman originally from Puerto Rico, raised in Camden with her mother and half-brother. Friends described Tina as boy crazy, full of life, full of energy. Several weeks later, the second victim was positive identified as Tanya Moore, a transgender woman born in Germantown, Pennsylvania. Tanya friends remember her as clean-cut, devoted, someone who attended church and carried herself with a quiet honor, and beeline the dangers of the street she navigated every day. Even in death, the women refused to disappear. The relentless work to name them was more than an investigation. It was an act of giving the women their names back, a demand that Tanya and Tina be seen, remembered, and restored to the world that had forgotten them. 13 years later, after that fateful night in 1999, a lead finally emerged, one that promised to shed light on a decade-old murders of Tanya Moore and Tina Rodriguez. A man whose identity has never been revealed to the public came forward while being questioned in an entirely separate murder case in upstate Pennsylvania. He told police that if he was granted immunity for that case, he will reveal what really happened to Tanya and Tina. The witness, through his lawyer, signed an agreement, a legal document that would allow him to speak freely, would also prevent authorities from charging the killer directly for Tanya and Tina murder. According to him, the man responsible was no other than the leader of the infamous Warlock biker gang, the same man already convicted for a brutal murder in upstate Pennsylvania and serving a life sentence. What he revealed was chilling. On the night of June 30th, 1986, Tanya and Tina were picked up by the two men connected to the gang and taken to the basement of an electronics store in Center City, Pennsylvania, owned by the gang leader parents. The woman, under the impression they were simply meeting a client for sex work, were lured into a nightmare. Small amounts of cocaine were used, and what began as a seemingly ordinary encounter quickly turned deadly. The gang leader discovered that Tanya was a transgender. Enraged, he pulled out a handgun and shot her in the face. The bullet didn't kill her immediately, lodged inside the back of her skull. Meanwhile, Tina was restrained. The killer wanted to see if she was a transgender too. When it was confirmed that she was a transgender, he beat her to death and then suffocated her. When he realized that Tanya was still alive, she too was beaten to death. The horror didn't end there. The men wrapped the victims in a green garbage bag, attempting to fit them into a stereo box. Tanya, standing 6'1" and weighed 190 pounds, and Tina, smaller, a 5'6" and 120 pounds, didn't fit. Their legs were severed above the knees to make them fit. For 3 days, their bodies sat in the back of the vat until the smell was unbearable. Only then they were dumped at a baseball diamond in Middletown and set ablaze. The Warlock leader remains behind bars for a separate murder in upstate Pennsylvania. But because of the agreement, he cannot be questioned about Tanya and Tina. Their murders, despite the shocking leads, remain officially unsolved. And so the question lingers, haunting, unresolved. How do we move forward when the truth existed but the law cannot act? How do we honor Tanya and Tina when the police let them down? Even decades later, their story demands to be heard, their names remembered, and their lives, not just their death, acknowledged. Tanya and Tina deserve to be remembered for their lives, not just their death. Tanya had a deeply belly laugh that made everyone around her laugh. She dreamed of a life somewhere safe and sunny. Tina had a soft heart, loved music, dancing, and warm nights with friends. They were loyal and full of life. They deserve safety and love. And still, they are remembered primarily for the horror of their death. We must change that. Transgender women, particularly trans women of color, continue to face extreme risks. They are often misgendered, ignored, and devalued. Tanya and Tina's story is not just history. It becomes a lens revealing a system that even now remains deeply flawed. Justice is not only legal, justice is remember. Justice is saying their names, acknowledging their life, their friendship, and their humanity. Tonight, we remember Tanya Moore and Tina Rodriguez, two women who lived fully, loved deeply, and walked through a world that was often cruel. They were not victims of a violent crime. They were friends, sisters, daughters, and members of a community that continued to fight for safety. Their lives were filled with dreams, laughter, and the kind of relentless that comes from surviving in a world that often tried to erase them. Every memory, every detail, no matter how small, could bring the family the justice they've been waiting for decades. Your voice could be the one that finally answers the questions that have haunted their loved ones for so long. Tanya deserved better. Tina deserved better. And their memories deserve justice. But more than that, they deserve to be remembered as the full, complex human beings they were. Not as shadows, not as footnotes in a headline. They were real. They matter. And their stories continue to matter. So tonight, as we honor their lives, let us carry forward their light. Let us challenge the system that failed them. Let us speak their names with the respect, love, and care they were denied in life. Let us remember that even decades later, the truth is out there, waiting, and it's never too late to demand justice. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for keeping Tanya and Tina alive in our hearts, in our story, in a world that must never forget them. This is the case of Tanya Moore and Tina Rodriguez. Now let's get into some theories.
Theories.
Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Researching through your history. It's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Let's begin detectives.
You or me?
Good.
This one, it breaks my heart. And this is why I did it on True Crime 1 Minute, because I felt like I needed to get their story out. And so happy and amazed that people wanted to hear more of their story. They wanted to get their story out there. And it's just sad that their case could be solved. Like, the police know, but the police was so, what the word I want to say? The police didn't care. I think the murder that the man was being charged or had information about, they wanted that murder more. Let us be honest. They wanted to solve that case more than Tanya and Tina. They didn't care about them. There was transgender, there was sex workers, and then there was colored. So they didn't matter. And that was hurt the most, because you got the man, but you're like, oh, forget that. Let's just give him this deal right quick. Wow. I mean, come on. Like, you were so quickly to just like give him this deal. 2 murders, 2 women that was unalive in a brutal way. First of all, I really don't believe his story. It's something that's standing out. When I look into the place that the women was like, sex working at, it was mostly known for transgender women. So it's like, even though it's like other prostitutes was there, but it was like in one part, it was mostly transgender women. So it's like, how you did not know? And it's, I don't know, it is a lie to me that they didn't know that these was transgender women. Something happened that night for them to unalive them, or they wanted to unalive them because they were transgender. What if that was right? Like, oh, we unalive because we found out they were transgender. What if they were trying to unalive somebody, but they wanted transgender women. They didn't like how they was living their life. What if that's the truth?
Yeah, so that was going to be one of my questions was, were they disclosing that they were transgender because certain people feel a certain type of way over certain people?
Mm-hmm.
But you knew that there was transgenders there. So, I don't know. Maybe, like you said, they targeted them because they wanted to target. It was a hate crime against transgenders. But ultimately, it is a tragedy, and they died in a very violent, horrific way. They didn't deserve any of it.
I agree with you. They didn't deserve it. And it's sad that they both dream of a life outside of the world they was in, to be loved, to be accepted, to be free. And they didn't get that. And it's so sad because to be shot in the face and Tina seeing her best friend, her road dog, her sister get unalive in front of her, and she's like, oh shoot, I'm next. Like, it's just sad. And then that these guys are already in jail for another murder. So it's like, this wasn't their first time doing this. And I wish, like, it's hard because you don't know who told the story. Like, I don't know who the man was because the police, they kept him hush hush. But you knew the gang that they was a part of. So to me, it seemed like the police, they wanted to forget Tanya and Tina murder. They wanted to charge them something more heavier. Because I felt they were like, oh, like, we solved the case. We got the murders. But them cases don't matter. The case that we really want to, like, charge them for is our main thought about, like, our main focus. And that's sad because you push aside one murder for another one. No, you should charge them for both because, let's be honest, Tanya and Tina murder is never going to be solved because he signed that paperwork. And he's in that paperwork, he said, hey, you can't go for me or my partner. So what the police going to do? They can't do nothing. They can't act. And that's why I said it's a solved case, but the police kind of effed it up a little bit. Like, it's just sickening because it's just hard. Even for Tina, mom and her brother, like, they was trying to accept her, like, probably in their head, like, oh, we're doing the best that we could do, like, bailing her out of jail, trying to be accepted. But we don't know what they was not probably saying her pronoun right. We don't know what they was doing for her to say, hey, like, I don't feel a part of the family. Because it seemed like they were trying, but sometimes when you're part of the LGBT community and you have family members that are trying, sometimes their way of trying still hurts you. They don't respect your pronouns. They don't respect your partner. They don't respect a lot of things. So you like, hey, I don't want to be hurt no more, so I'm going to fall back. And sometimes it's to keep your peace than anything. Like, I'm not going after her family. I'm just saying, like, hey, and Tina you wasn't supporting her how she needed to be supported, And it's hard sometimes because, family was like, hey, I'm supporting you. But like, no, I need this kind of support. I need this kind of love. And it's hard to be a part of this community sometimes. And looking back in 1980 when they was unalive, and now transgender rights haven't really made a big difference. It seemed like we're going back with their rights a little bit. Even our rights. I mean, thank you, Supreme Court, for not, messing up our rights. But transgender people, they're going through a lot too.
Yeah.
It's just sad that this world is going backwards a little bit. But, as our ancestors did, they fought. And we're going to continue to fight. So, love you, LGBT community. But it's just sad. And I'm glad that the person convinced me to do this case. Because, I mean, I did it before. I looked at the paperwork, read everything. But I'm glad I got to retell their story. I feel like tonight it wasn't about, like, oh, their murder or how vicious it was. It was to remind people that people that's different from you are going through so much. That you shouldn't treat somebody that's different from you in a hateful way. You should treat them with love and respect and teach your kids to do the same exact thing because we never know what somebody else is going through.
Yeah.
That's my preach for the day. And guys, please wish my wife a speedy recovery and me too, because I've been around her. Like, she just got diagnosed today and we had a good weekend and a couple days. So it's like, and I'm already exposed, but we still isolated. I know, like, we close together, but we're like 6 feet apart, guys. We're 6 feet apart. I'm gonna wipe everything down that she just did. So please, please give her praying hands in the comments and slide into her DMs only for nice words, not mean words, because that's my wife. Don't play with me. I'm sorry that my wife couldn't get out her good theories. Her voice is just not there today, but I did enough talking for the both of us. Thank you guys for hearing Tanya and Tina's story, and let's get their case out there. Let's tell people more about their case, and hopefully, I don't know, like, I know it can be like solved or people can't go to jail because what the police did. I wish, like, the family, be honest, can sue the police department. That is a thing that they should look into, like suing, like, hey, you didn't I don't know what they could sue them for, but I feel like they could sue them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the thing. So family, if you're watching this, sue them. This is Lesbian Detectives. Please like, comment, subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating on all podcast platform, YouTube. Give me your comments. Tell me a story that broke your heart that you hear and you want me to tell. I will love to hear it. This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
No, I'm Elizabeth.
Don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Bye. You suck, COVID.
Lesbian detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, lesbian detectives. Lesbian detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.